Welcome back, guys, to another video. Today's video, we're going to watch Triple G get burned. We're going to watch some good fighting, and we're going to analyze some of the fights that took place. So if you guys like some war footage, stick around. Welcome back, guys, to the channel. Today we got some war footage we're going to go over. For all the players out there who might have been involved in this war, this is nothing personal. I'm not on here to trash talk. I'm not on here to boast or anything like that because I don't have all that much to boast about. But what we are going to get into is some war footage so that we can all learn together some battle mechanics. And unfortunately, whenever you are in war and you're learning when you first get into the game, you make plenty of mistakes and you also learn plenty of things. And you cannot learn unless you fight. And when you fight, it's costly. So let's go into this footage right here, guys. I'm going to play it at a faster speed. So right here, I'm zooming around to see if there are any enemies apart from us that are coming up from behind us. That would be one tactic that's being used. This is the guy that is going to be tanking for us on our base. He has some super heavies, really maxed out, really nice. They tank rather well. In this particular one, we were going to start to take over some of the area, and so we needed to remove the bases. Me looking around right here is a strategy that most people might know because whenever you're in the heat of battle, you don't really look around the map. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for the enemy or white troop marches that are running around so that I can make sure that nobody is coming up on us. Usually you have kind of like a spotter whenever you have a bunch of people that are fighting together. That way somebody can always be cautious of when someone else is in the area. That's the key there. So if you see it zoom out and zoom back in, it's not because I'm trying to be annoying. And this is in fast mode. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of dizzy. But what we normally do is we surround the base. So the way that the base works is it works off of tiles. So as you can see, not everybody can occupy the same tile. So the person that is tanking comes in and draws the base to pretty much attack that one troop, and everybody else afterwards starts attacking, and they're able to not have any losses. Only the person that is tanking. This particular base was pretty heavy because it was a 27. As you can see, the guy tanking with that really heavy SH, which is a super heavy, with a maxed out commander, he eventually had to leave because he almost went into the red. But luckily enough, we were able to get that base. That one was a lot harder than most of them. However, all of these bases, nobody was online at the time. So before everybody says, well, these guys are just AFK, it's super easy, just hold on to the video because there's plenty of more war footage. The guys did a great job and responded. They came back in numbers. So we're going to go over some of that footage here in a minute. The key here that I'm trying to show is that the bases, you want to kind of try to surround them, but you want to be smart about it. So the guy that's pulling aggro, the guy that is taking the sponge for it, once he's done, you're able to attack. Now, you'll notice that all of the troops, once the base is gone, always go to the north side of the base. They kind of tend to fall into that area, and then you can attack afterwards. However, when you have a bulk amount of people, and in this case, it wasn't that many people, it was only like 5, I think, you can't surround them too much because you can't get all the tiles. And by that, I mean, whenever you click on the map, there's a little hexagon, and it goes to each one of them. So you kind of try to surround lightly. I was trying to capture some footage of a little bit of a close-up to show. He did have Percy on there, so it was healing. Whenever he wasn't battling, it was healing. And then here I go looking just to make sure. There were some troops down there that were coming up just to make sure what was going on. And then we clean up the troops afterwards. And that is how you port stuff out. Now in this battle, jumps to the next one. The person had ported in and or airdropped in, I should say, and was coming up from behind us, which is a good tactic because we we weren't watching. He tried to come up from behind us. A person called it out, so we kind of started focusing on his base. Now, the thing is that his friends to the north are going to try to come up behind us. Why is that so important? Well, because if you have your artillery and your weaker units, not your sponge units, but your weaker units, you have them in the back, then somebody can destroy them in the back very easily. He also did a very good job of popping in and out. That's a tactic. As you can see, he tried to go around my troops, but I knew what he was doing, so I was attacking them, but he went back into the base. What that does is that his base will rejuvenate his troops. Mine, they won't, because they're not in the base. If I have a commander that can rejuvenate them on the field, it will, but there's only 2 commanders that do that. So with that in mind, he's popping in and out of his base so that he can heal and then go back and then heal and then go back and pick us off one by one. So the only way that you can do anything in this scenario is to make his base port out. And once his base ports out, then, he has to retrain all of the troops. Went back and forth. At this time, it started glitching a bunch. What you guys just saw was my troops went back towards the base and then came back for the attack. I don't know if that's because people were on the tile or if it was just glitching, but I noticed that every time I was dragging my troops or trying to click attack, they were just spazzing out. A lot of people were complaining about lag in the game and stuff. I really don't know. It was kind of crazy what was happening. But nevertheless, we finally got this particular person down to where they were going to port. But at that time, more people came in. So we have people from the south now trying to come in. What they're going to do is they're going to try to go after the troops that are a lot weaker. So troops that only have 1 by them, or that aren't in a cluster, or troops that are a weaker unit. So you got to be super careful. So what we try to do is we try to pick off all the people that are coming up. However, there was such a mass amount of people. I think after about like 15, 20 minutes, that looked to be about like, I don't know, close to about 40 to 60 marches. And by that, I mean, each person has 5. So, close to 10 to 11 people that got involved in the fight and were coming down. And there were only 4 or 5 of us, and we were probably about 80 kilometers out. So we had quite a bit of walk. So as you can see, I'm retraining, but those, after they train, have to try to march over here and join with my other guys so that they're bigger. And it got a little overwhelming. So what I'm going to have to do in this particular fight, so that I can regain faster, I'm going to have to move my base. And unfortunately that took a little while because the base is pretty slow. And, yeah, so it's going to happen here in a second. I'm going off of my memory right now, but enjoying some of the footage. Had my medium right there, but still having to heal. As you can see up here, my reserves 750 from 900. They go quick. They go really, really quick in battle. And once that goes down to 0, you can't train any more troops. You can't speed it up. There's nothing you can do. You're pretty much out of the fight. Absolutely nothing you can do. So just remember that whenever you're fighting, is that when your reserves, it's easy to click recruit, but once those reserves get down, you're going to be out of there. And you literally, mine, it heals 1 unit, a single unit, and there's 20 of them in a march. Now, tanks take 6 or 4 or whatever, but still, yeah, it literally will eat up your reserves super quick in battle. Here we go. We're going to break it down. I'm going to try to go here. I'm going to try to fast forward it a little bit. I was looking on the map at most of the people, but I was trying to, as you can see, they started coming down pretty heavily. 2 guys ported in from the south so they could try to swing up on our 1 guy that was over there that had already made it. I decided not to airdrop. I went ahead and went the long way. I'm sorry, I'm trying to drag this. That way we can get most of this over here. And yeah, so I finally get over here, and at this time, I had not all of my units. I was still training quite a bit of them, but my bunker, I bunkered down my infantry. I had a couple other troops, I think just 1 or whatever, and BJ right here, the guy with the SH, he was absolutely tanking everybody, which he's a pay-to-win player. So, he really has a strong, he has some strong troops. But I wanted you guys to see a couple things about this is that even though he had a lot of heavies and he was doing some pretty good damage, as he was running around, I was bunkering my infantry. My infantry wasn't really taking hits, but it was picking off people left and right from him. And why is that so important? Because, some other infantry and some other units can try to hurt his heavies, his super heavies, even though they're really hard to beat up, but his super heavies. And so I'm just a nuisance off to the side, having the rapid fire rate of the infantry in the bunker, and it's really not taking a bunch until the rockets come. And then the rockets will hurt me. The rockets, I could see them. They don't take long to try to target me. See, the rockets come. I mean, you can see it. It just drops like a quarter of the way. I got to move them, And so I tell him, hey, you got to take care of the rockets because otherwise I'm out of there, And so I come back. I try to bunker up after he tries to take out the rockets. But yeah, the rockets just absolutely decimate the infantry, especially when they're bunkered. So that's a cool little footage for you guys who wonder about that in battle. And we went back and forwards for quite a little while until they finally, at this time, it looked like we were kind of getting ahead, picking them off or whatever, but that wasn't the case. They switched up their strategy, and what they were doing was they were actually finding out where our bases were, and they were walking over to them. They were driving, marching, whatever you want to call it, over to our base. And because, remember I told you, usually you have a spotter. I was spotting before. Usually have a spotter to zoom out and zoom in. I was so concentrated on recording this particular battle going on that I wasn't watching. And they were marching the entire time over there by the cluster of our bases that were over there. And that is a big no-no for me. I made a huge mistake there because here in a second, and let's see if I can show you. Here in a second, you see that red? That's my base being attacked. So I'm over here recording the footage, trying to use my troops to thing. And next thing I know, I see my my screen shot up red. And I thought to myself, oh, crap. They're at my base. They're at my base and they're hitting my base. And needless to say, it's too late now. There's nothing I can really do. I've already used multiple airdrops. You're only allowed 3 airdrops per day. Even though I have a bunch of transfer tickets, I'm only allowed 3 per day. And the reason that is so important is because once you've moved around or teleported 3 times away from somebody, that's it. All you can do is break it down and go. Anyway, needless to say, they got me all the way down. I was retraining. Didn't matter. They went all the way down. They burned my base until it was relocated. And so at the end of this, by the time I train again, as you can see, my money down and everything like that, I was down to around 350. Now that's 900 from 350. And that is in probably 30 to 45 minutes of battle. And the reason that I bring this up to people, if you've watched this entire time, if you've stuck around with me on this video, the reason that this is so important is because this will literally take me almost 35 to 40 hours to regain. And it took me 30 minutes to go down. Now, once I get that all the way down, let's say I kept on battling or whatever, once that goes all the way to 0, I train no troops whatsoever. Doesn't matter if I spend, buy a pack. No money matters. Once that's down, you have to wait, and only time will allow you to be able to train again. So now, after you've battled, if you're not wise about how you battle, if you just go in there and try to rip it apart, next thing you know, you've died a bunch of times, then especially with the base being beat up like it is, taking 8 hours for the base to reheal, taking 35 hours for my reserves to go all the way back up to be able to fight again. So that's how it's so easy for people to be out of the battle for good, by constantly attacking or whatever. So those are some things that happen inside of war that not a lot of people think about, but those reserves and your base and how easy it is for somebody just to target your base when your troops are out while you're not looking at the map are just super important, guys. Anyway, I'm thankful you guys waited around a little while. Hopefully you watched the video until the very end. If not, hopefully you saw some good footage or whatever. Like I said, this isn't to, you know, boast or go against anybody that was in the war. This is simply just reviewing some of the footage that I was able to capture of me fighting, some of the mistakes I made, some of the things that can be done or whatever. Anyway, if you guys liked the video, put a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. If you have some more tips and tricks for some people to help them better, you know, hey, you shouldn't have put this on the field, you should have put this on the field, you know, whatever, help the community out and leave a comment down below. Anyway, guys, love you. Till next time. Peace.